A forbidden love. In a galaxy far away, the planet of Zoreth thrived under the light of two suns. This planet was home to a proud and ancient race of beings known as the Zorethians. Among them was a young princess named Ilara. She was known for her beauty, grace, and fierce loyalty to her people. Yet, beneath her noble exterior lay a heart full of curiosity and longing for the unknown. Ilara often gazed at the stars from her palace balcony, dreaming of the worlds beyond her own. She had heard stories of humans, a species from a distant planet called Earth. They were different from the Zorethians, less advanced, but full of creativity and passion. The more she learned about them, the more intrigued she became. One fateful day, Ilara's father, the king, announced a diplomatic mission to Earth. It was a chance to establish relations with humanity and share knowledge. Ilara's heart raced with excitement. This was her opportunity to see the world she had only dreamed of. Upon arriving on Earth, Ilara felt a mix of wonder and unease. The bustling cities, strange sounds, and vibrant colors amazed her. But it was not until she met Jake, a human explorer, that her heart truly awakened. Jake was handsome, with warm brown eyes and a charming smile that made her laugh. He was passionate about exploring the universe and shared stories of his adventures with a sparkle in his eye. As they spent more time together, Ilara and Jake formed a bond that transcended their differences. They explored the wonders of Earth, from lush forests to towering mountains. They shared secrets under the stars, and Ilara found herself falling in love for the first time. Jake's laughter filled her with joy, and she felt a sense of freedom she had never known. But their love was forbidden. Ilara was a princess, and her duty was to her people. The Zorethian Council warned her against forming any ties with humans, believing they were untrustworthy. Yet the more they advised her, the more determined she became to follow her heart. One evening, as they sat by a serene lake, Ilara took a deep breath. "Jake, do you believe that love can conquer all?" she asked, her voice soft and sincere. Jake looked into her eyes, filled with wonder and warmth. "I believe that love is powerful. It can change hearts and maybe even worlds." Ilara smiled, feeling hope blossom within her. "Then let us create our own world, where love knows no boundaries." But deep down, she knew the challenges ahead. Days turned into weeks, and their secret meetings became more passionate. They would steal away to hidden places, exploring each other's hearts and dreams. But the world around them began to change. The Zorethian Council grew suspicious, and rumors of their love reached the ears of the king. One fateful night, as Ilara and Jake shared a quiet moment beneath the stars, their joy was shattered. Zorethian guards, alerted by the council, stormed the area. Ilara's heart sank as she realized her love for Jake had been exposed. The guards seized her, pulling her away from Jake's arms. "Princess Ilara, you must return with us," one of the guards commanded, his voice stern and unyielding. Jake stood frozen, confusion and fear etched on his face. "No, let her go," Jake shouted, desperation in his voice. He lunged forward, but the guard held him back, restraining him with ease. Ilara struggled against the guards, tears streaming down her face. "Jake, I will find a way back to you," she cried, her heart breaking as they pulled her away. She knew that her love for him could be seen as a betrayal to her people. The king was furious when they returned to the palace. He demanded to know how she could even think of associating with humans. "They are beneath us, Ilara. You are a princess. Your duty is to your people, not to some human," he thundered. Ilara felt a wave of anger and sorrow wash over her. "But father, Jake is not like the others. He is kind, brave, and he loves me." Her pleas fell on deaf ears, and the king declared that she would never see Jake again. As days passed, Ilara was confined to her room, her heart aching for the love she had lost. She felt trapped in a gilded cage, yearning for freedom and for Jake. The council held meetings to decide how to deal with humans and whispers of war filled the air. In her solitude, Ilara made a decision. She would not let her love be in vain. She would find a way to reunite with Jake, no matter the cost. The thought of him brought a spark of defiance to her heart. She could not abandon her love, nor could she ignore the looming danger to her people. At night, when the stars shone brightly, Ilara would sneak out to the palace gardens, gazing at the sky. She would whisper Jake's name into the night, dreaming of the day they could be together again. Her love for him burned fiercely within her, igniting a passion that could not be extinguished. Little did Ilara know, the choices she would make in the days to come would change the fate of both her world and Jake's forever. The seeds of wrath were beginning to grow, and with them, a determination to protect her heart and her people. As the sun set over the horizon, Ilara stood resolute, ready to face the challenges ahead. The love that had blossomed between her and Jake was not just a fleeting moment. It was the beginning of a battle between love and duty, one that would test her strength and resolve in ways she could never imagine. In the depths of her heart, she vowed to find Jake again, even if it meant facing the wrath of her own people. The winds of change were stirring, and Ilara was determined to shape her destiny. The betrayal. The days turned into weeks, and the weight of confinement pressed heavily on Princess Ilara's heart. The beautiful gardens that once brought her solace now felt like a prison. Each morning, she would awaken with the hope of seeing Jake again, only to be met with the harsh reality of her father's orders. The king had forbidden any contact with humans, labeling them a dangerous and untrustworthy species. Ilara spent her days in solitude, pacing the ornate walls of her room. Every corner was filled with memories of her time with Jake, the laughter they shared, the stories exchanged, and the dreams of a future together. But the joy was now overshadowed by a growing sense of dread. The Zorathian Council was discussing a plan to protect their planet, and Ilara feared what that might entail. One afternoon, while wandering the palace gardens, Ilara overheard a conversation between two council members. Their voices were low but filled with urgency. "We cannot let the humans gain any power over us," one of them said. "They will exploit our resources and treat us like their inferiors." "We must take action," the other replied. "Prepare our defenses and strengthen our alliances. It is time to show them we will not be trifled with." Ilara's heart raced. The council was planning to take a drastic step against humanity. She thought of Jake and how he had always treated her with kindness and respect. The idea that her people would see humans as enemies filled her with despair. That night, unable to sleep, Ilara slipped out of her room, her heart pounding with urgency. She made her way to the library, where she could access the star maps and communication devices. If there was any chance to reach Jake, she had to try. As she entered the dimly lit library, her fingers trembled as she navigated the shelves, filled with ancient tomes and scrolls. She quickly found the star maps and began studying the coordinates of Earth. The thought of Jake brought tears to her eyes. She needed to warn him. Just then, a soft voice broke the silence. "Princess Ilara, what are you doing here?" It was her loyal handmaiden, Nira, who had always supported her dreams. "I have to send a message to Jake," Ilara replied, desperation in her voice. "He needs to know what's coming." Nira's brow furrowed with concern. "But it's dangerous. If the guards catch you, I cannot sit idle while my people plan to harm him." Ilara interrupted, her resolve unwavering. "I love him, Nira. I cannot let him suffer for a mistake he did not make." Nira hesitated, then nodded. "All right, let me help you, but we must be quick." Together, they accessed the communication device hidden within the library. Ilara's hands shook as she typed the coordinates for Earth. She poured her heart into the message, warning Jake of the impending danger and urging him to stay safe. As the message transmitted, Ilara felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this would reach him in time. But as she turned to leave, the sound of footsteps echoed through the library. Panic surged through her veins. "Quick, hide," Nira whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Ilara rushed behind a tall shelf, her heart racing as the guards entered. They were searching for her, their voices harsh and commanding. "Where is the princess?" one guard demanded. "We must find her before she does something foolish." Ilara held her breath, her body tense as she listened to their footsteps approach. She could hear the guards discussing her defiance, calling her a traitor for even thinking of contacting a human. It hurt to hear those words, especially when she knew in her heart that her love for Jake was genuine. After what felt like an eternity, the guards finally left, and Ilara emerged from her hiding spot. Mira looked at her with concern. "You must be more careful, princess, if they discover what you've done." "I know," Ilara said, her voice shaking. "But I couldn't just stand by and let them attack Jake. I have to protect him." Days passed, and Ilara's anxiety grew. She often returned to the library, hoping to catch a glimpse of a response from Jake. But time dragged on, and the silence became deafening. The council met regularly to discuss their plans, and Ilara overheard more discussions of potential war with humanity. Then one evening, as she was preparing for bed, Nira rushed into her room, breathless and wide-eyed. "Ilara, you have to see this." "What is it?" Ilara asked, her heart racing. Nira held out a small device. "It's a message from Jake." Ilara's heart soared as she took the device and pressed a button. Jake's face appeared on the screen, his expression grave. "Ilara, I received your message," he said urgently. "I can't believe they're planning to attack. You must warn your people. I know there's a misunderstanding. We can find a way to make peace." Ilara's heart ached at the sight of him. "Jake, please, I will do everything I can, but they are so blinded by fear and hatred. They won't listen." "I believe in you," Jake replied, his voice steady. "You have to stand up for what's right, even if it means defying your father." Tears filled Ilara's eyes as she nodded. "I promise. I will try. I love you, Jake." "I love you too, Ilara," he said, his expression filled with longing. "Stay safe." As the message ended, Ilara felt a surge of determination. Jake's faith in her fueled her resolve. She couldn't let her people's fear dictate their actions. She had to find a way to reach them, to show them that not all humans were enemies. But little did she know, the council was already planning their next move, and Ilara's defiance would soon lead to consequences that would change everything. As she lay in bed that night, she couldn't shake the feeling that the storm was coming, and she had to be ready to face it head-on. The princess who once dreamed of love now stood at the edge of a conflict that would test her loyalty, courage, and heart. And as the stars twinkled outside her window, Ilara knew one thing for certain. She would fight for her love, no matter the cost. A rift between worlds. The tension in the Zorathian palace had reached a boiling point. Princess Ilara could feel it in the air as she navigated the grand halls, where whispers of impending war filled the atmosphere. Council members roamed the corridors with determined looks, their voices low but urgent. Ilara knew they were preparing to launch a strike against Earth, a plan she was determined to stop. One evening, as she sat in her room, staring out at the vast cosmos, Nira entered with a worried expression. "Ilara, they are getting closer to making their decision. The council will vote soon." Ilara turned to her, heart racing. "I have to convince them not to attack. If they would just listen to me. Your father and the council believe humans are a threat. You'll have to show them otherwise," Nira said gently. "I need to gather more evidence," Ilara said, determination burning in her chest. "If I can prove that Jake and the humans want peace, maybe they'll reconsider." With a plan forming in her mind, Ilara knew she had to act quickly. She decided to reach out to Jake once more, hoping for his help. Under the cover of night, she snuck into the library again, her heart pounding. She was getting good at avoiding the guards, but her luck could run out at any moment. Once at the communication device, she sent another message to Jake, urging him to provide any information that could help her convince her father and the Council of Humanity's true nature. She explained the dire situation, how her people were blinded by fear and hatred, and how she needed his voice to support her cause. Days passed, each filled with anxiety as she awaited his reply. The council was set to vote on their military action soon, and Ilara felt time slipping away. Every day, she overheard conversations about the need for a show of force, and her heart sank further. Finally, late one night, as Ilara was pacing her room, the communication device beeped. With trembling hands, she activated it, and Jake's face appeared once more, looking more serious than before. "Ilara, I received your message," Jake said, his expression grim. "I'm gathering evidence that shows our intention to help your people and keep peace between our worlds." Ilara's heart lifted. "You really think it will make a difference?" "I believe it can," he replied. "But I need you to meet with someone from the Earth Council. They can help you understand our perspective. Maybe together, we can change how your people view humans." The idea excited Ilara, but she knew it would be a risk. "I'll do it," she said resolutely. "But I'll need to be discreet. My father and the council can't know about this." With Jake's guidance, Ilara began to plan a secret meeting. They set a date for a few nights later, and Ilara could hardly contain her anticipation. She had never felt more alive, fueled by the hope of bridging the gap between their worlds. As the day approached, Ilara felt both excitement and fear. She had never ventured far from the palace without permission, and the thought of sneaking out sent chills down her spine. But the thought of failing Jake and her people was far more daunting. On the night of the meeting, Ilara dressed in a simple cloak to disguise her identity. With Nira's help, she snuck out of the palace, her heart pounding as they navigated the quiet streets. "Are you sure about this?" Nira whispered, concern etched on her face. "Yes," Ilara replied firmly. "This could change everything. I have to try." They made their way to a hidden spot on the outskirts of the city, where the stars twinkled like diamonds against the dark sky. Jake would be waiting for her there, along with a representative from Earth. As they arrived, Ilara spotted Jake's familiar figure, illuminated by the soft glow of a small light. Her heart soared, but just as she stepped closer, she froze. Standing beside Jake was a man she didn't recognize, tall and strong, with a serious demeanor. "Jake," Ilara called softly, and he turned, his face lighting up with relief. "Thank you for coming," he said, stepping forward. "This is David, an ambassador from the Earth Council." Ilara nodded, trying to appear composed. "It's nice to meet you," she said, though she felt a whirlwind of emotions inside her. "Let's get right to it," David said, his voice steady. "We've been following the situation on Zoreth. We want to avoid conflict at all costs, but your council is determined to strike first. We believe that a misunderstanding has spiraled out of control." Ilara listened intently as David shared stories of human resilience, cooperation, and peace efforts. He spoke of how humanity had faced their own challenges and had chosen dialogue over destruction. "I want to show your people that humans are not their enemies," David said. "We can work together for a brighter future." Ilara felt her resolve strengthen. "I will do everything I can to share your message," she promised. "But my people need to see it for themselves." As they continued to talk, Ilara felt a sense of hope blossoming within her. Maybe, just maybe, they could change the minds of her people before it was too late. However, their meeting was abruptly interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. Panic surged through Ilara as she realized they had been discovered. "We have to go," she urged, her heart racing. Jake and David exchanged worried glances, but quickly complied. They all scattered into the shadows, hearts pounding as they made their way back toward the palace. Ilara's mind raced with fear of what would happen if they were caught. Once back inside, Ilara collapsed onto her bed, breathless. Nira rushed in after her, eyes wide with fear. "What happened?" "I saw the guards looking for you." Ilara took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. "We met with someone from Earth," she whispered. "They want peace, but I don't know if I can convince my people." Nira placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. You've done more than most would have dared. You just need to keep trying. As Ilara lay in bed that night, the weight of the world rested on her shoulders. She knew the council would vote soon, and she had to be ready. The rift between their worlds had grown, but she was determined to bridge it, no matter the cost. The future of both her people and her love hung in the balance, and Ilara was prepared to fight for it. The council's decision. The following days in the Zorathian palace felt heavier than ever. Ilara moved through the grand halls, the air thick with tension as the council prepared for their decisive vote. She could hear the murmurs of concern echoing in the marble corridors, each whispered word amplifying her anxiety. The fate of both Zorath and Earth rested on this council meeting, and she knew she had to act quickly. "Today is the day," Nira said as they stood outside the council chamber, her voice trembling slightly. "Are you ready?" Ilara nodded, though her stomach churned with uncertainty. "I have to be. If I don't convince them to listen to reason, everything will change." She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. As they entered the council chamber, Ilara felt the eyes of the council members on her, each face a mask of authority and skepticism. At the head of the long, ornate table sat her father, King Thorian, his expression unreadable. Ilara felt a rush of love and fear wash over her. She knew he meant well, but his decisions were often swayed by fear rather than understanding. "Princess Ilara," he began, his voice deep and commanding. "You have requested to address the council before we vote on the matter of Earth. What do you have to say?" Ilara stepped forward, her heart racing. "Honored council members, I stand before you not just as a princess, but as a daughter of Zorath and a friend to humanity. I believe our decision to attack Earth is rooted in fear, not truth." A murmur ran through the council, and Ilara pressed on. "I recently met with an ambassador from Earth, David, who shared their perspective on our conflict. They wish to avoid war, and they are eager for peace. We must consider this before we act." King Thorian narrowed his eyes. "You speak of friendship with a species we do not fully understand. How can you be sure they do not plan to betray us?" "Because I believe in the goodness of individuals," Ilara replied, her voice rising with passion. "I have seen it in Jake, the human I love. He and his people have shown kindness and bravery. If we strike first, we may destroy any chance for peace." Another council member, a stern-looking woman named Councillor Varric, leaned forward. "You speak of love, princess, but love cannot be the foundation of our decisions. We have to protect Zorath. What if your human betrays you?" Ilara's heart sank at the mention of her feelings. She knew it could be used against her, but she refused to let fear dictate her actions. Love is not weakness, it's strength. If we trust in the goodness of others, we can build a future together. But if we act on fear, we risk losing everything. The council members exchanged glances, some skeptical, others contemplative. King Thorian remained silent, his expression inscrutable. Ilara felt a mix of hope and dread. She knew this was a pivotal moment. "Let us consider the evidence," Councillor Varric finally said. "If these humans truly wish for peace, they will show it. We can set a trial period, an opportunity for communication. But if they betray us, we will have our justification." A flicker of hope sparked in Ilara's chest. "Yes, a chance for dialogue is all I ask. Let us not be hasty in our actions." After a long moment of silence, King Thorian finally spoke. "Very well. We will vote on this proposition. If the Council agrees to pursue communication with Earth, we will delay any military action." The room buzzed with murmurs of agreement and dissent. Ilara held her breath, her heart pounding in her ears. This was a turning point, one that could change everything. As the votes were cast, the council members deliberated. Ilara watched her father closely, wishing he could see the truth of her words. She imagined a future where Zorath and Earth could thrive together, where love could bridge their worlds. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, King Thorian raised his hand. "The council has voted. We will extend an invitation to Earth for dialogue. However, we will also prepare our defenses. We must be ready for any betrayal." Ilara's heart soared. "Thank you, Father. This is the chance we need." As the council adjourned, Ilara stepped outside, Nera following closely behind. "You did it. You convinced them," Nera exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. "I just hope it's enough," Ilara replied, still feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. "Now we need to inform Jake and David. They need to prepare for the meeting." With renewed determination, Ilara hurried to her chamber to send a message. She carefully crafted her words, explaining the council's decision and the chance for dialogue. This could be the beginning of something incredible, but she also knew it wouldn't be easy. That night, as Ilara lay in bed, she felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. The council's decision was a small victory, but it was just the first step. She knew that gaining her people's trust would take time, especially in the face of the council's reservations. Yet she held on to hope, fueled by her love for Jake and the belief that peace was possible. As she drifted off to sleep, Ilara dreamed of a future where Zorath and Earth stood united, a vision of harmony that felt more tangible than ever before. She could almost see the two worlds intertwining, their cultures blending and growing stronger together. But deep down, she knew that not everyone would welcome this change. As the princess, she would have to navigate the treacherous waters of politics, fear, and loyalty. The battle for peace had only just begun, and Ilara was ready to fight for the love that had sparked this journey. Shadows of war days passed as Ilara awaited news from Earth. The council had agreed to the meeting, but she sensed an undercurrent of tension among her people. Whispers of betrayal circulated like wildfire, and some council members still harbored doubts about the humans' intentions. Ilara knew she had to prepare for the worst. One evening, she stood on the balcony of her chamber, gazing out at the lush, starry sky. The shimmering lights reminded her of the connection she felt with Jake. Her heart ached for him, knowing that their love was about to be tested. Just then, a soft knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. "Ilara." Nera's voice was tentative. "Can we talk?" "Of course, come in," Ilara replied, stepping aside to let her friend enter. Nera looked worried, her brows furrowed. "I've heard rumors among the council. Some members are not convinced that the humans can be trusted. They want to push forward with the attack regardless of the meeting." Ilara's heart sank. "We can't let that happen. If we attack now, we'll ruin any chance of peace." "I know," Nera said, biting her lip. "But what can we do? The council meets again tomorrow to finalize their decision. If they vote for war, it could be too late." Ilara's mind raced. "We need to show them that humans can be allies. Maybe if we present more evidence of their intentions, it will sway the council." Nera nodded, her expression softening. "But how? We don't have time to gather more proof." "We can reach out to Jake and David," Ilara said, determination igniting within her. "They can send a message back to Zorath with their thoughts on peace. We need to present them as a united front." With that plan in mind, Ilara sent a message to Jake, detailing the urgency of their situation. She explained how the council was wavering and emphasized the importance of their words. After hitting send, she felt a rush of hope, but also a wave of anxiety. Would Jake understand the weight of their situation? The following day, the council meeting began, and Ilara stood with Nera, their hearts heavy with concern. The atmosphere in the chamber was thick with tension, and Ilara could see the divided opinions written on the faces of the council members. Her father sat at the head of the table, his expression serious as he prepared to address the room. "Today, we discussed the future of our relationship with Earth," King Thorian announced, his voice echoing in the grand chamber. "As you all know, the council has agreed to invite their representatives for a dialogue, but many of you remain unconvinced of their intentions." Councillor Varick spoke up. "We cannot ignore the risks. Humanity has shown itself to be unpredictable. Our forces are ready to strike if necessary. Ilara's heart raced. "Father, please, we must hear from the humans first. They deserve a chance to explain themselves." Her plea was met with mixed reactions, some council members nodding in agreement while others frowned, unconvinced. "And what if they lie?" Another council member shot back. "What if we expose ourselves to danger?" "They may be unpredictable," Ilara replied, her voice steady, "but we cannot let fear dictate our actions. Love is not a weakness, it's a strength that can lead us to a brighter future." "Is love enough to protect our people?" Councillor Varick countered sharply. "What about our safety? Are you willing to risk it all based on your feelings for a human?" Ilara felt the heat rising in her cheeks, but she stood firm. "I am willing to risk it all for peace. If we attack first, we lose everything, including the chance to understand them." A murmur of dissent rippled through the chamber. "Enough," King Thorian interjected, raising his hand. "We will not let this turn into a quarrel. Ilara has made her point, and we shall consider her words as we deliberate." As the council members began to discuss the implications of their decision, Ilara felt a surge of hope. She knew they had to listen to Jake and David, to see them not as enemies, but as potential allies. The clock was ticking, and every moment counted. Just then, an aide entered the chamber, breathless. "Your Majesty, a message has arrived from Earth." Ilara's heart raced as the aide handed a scroll to King Thorian. He read it aloud, his voice steady but grave. "Jake and David have sent their response. They affirm their commitment to peace and invite us to send an envoy to Earth for discussions." The council members exchanged glances, some appearing intrigued while others remained skeptical. Ilara saw her chance. "This is it. We have a direct invitation to communicate. We must accept it and send a delegation to Earth. An envoy could show our willingness to engage," her father added, glancing at the council. "But we will also keep our forces on standby, just in case." The council began to murmur again, the tension palpable as they debated the proposal. Ilara held her breath, praying they would choose the path of peace. After a lengthy discussion, the vote was called. One by one, the council members raised their hands. "Those in favor of sending an envoy to Earth?" King Thorian asked. "The journey to Earth." With the council's decision to send an envoy to Earth, excitement and apprehension filled Ilara's heart. The chance to connect with Jake and his world was finally within reach, yet the weight of their mission loomed over her like a storm cloud. She understood that this journey was not just about bridging two cultures. It was about averting war. Preparations began immediately. Ilara and Nira gathered the finest members of their delegation, including diplomats and advisors. They spent long hours discussing strategies and potential outcomes, knowing that their success could depend on every word spoken in the upcoming meeting. Ilara felt a mix of anxiety and determination as she studied each delegate's face, hoping they would share her vision for peace. The day of departure arrived, and the atmosphere at the palace was electric. The grand ship, sleek and silver, awaited them on the landing platform. As Ilara stood at the base of the ramp, she took a moment to absorb the sights and sounds around her. Her people gathered, whispering their hopes and fears. She could see the tension in their faces, the uncertainty about what lay ahead. Would this journey lead to peace or disaster? Ilara stepped onto the ship, feeling the familiar hum of the engines. Nira followed closely, her expression filled with a mixture of excitement and concern. "Are you ready for this?" Nira asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I have to be," Ilara replied, forcing a smile. "For us, for the humans, and for the future." As the ship prepared for takeoff, Ilara couldn't help but think of Jake. Would he be waiting for them? Would he understand the risks they were taking? She closed her eyes and envisioned his face, hoping to draw strength from the memory of their love. With a gentle lurch, the ship lifted off the ground, and they soared into the vastness of space. Through the viewport, the stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across velvet. Ilara felt a thrill of anticipation and fear coursing through her veins. Would they reach Earth without incident? As the ship traveled, the crew monitored their course closely. Ilara spent her time preparing her speech, practicing the words she hoped would resonate with the humans. She wanted to convey her genuine desire for friendship, to demonstrate that their worlds could coexist in harmony. After several hours, the ship approached Earth's atmosphere. As they descended, the lush green landscape unfolded beneath them. Ilara's heart raced. This was Jake's home. The thought of seeing him again sent butterflies swirling in her stomach. They landed in a large clearing just outside a city. The ship's doors opened, and Ilara stepped out into the warm, inviting air. The earth smelled different, fresh and vibrant. She took a deep breath, allowing the scents to fill her lungs. She felt an overwhelming sense of hope wash over her. A group of humans stood at a distance, watching their arrival. Among them, Ilara spotted Jake. Her heart skipped a beat. He looked handsome and strong, and as their eyes met, a smile broke across his face. Ilara's heart raced as she approached him, her steps quickening. "Jake," she called, and before she knew it, they were in each other's arms. It felt like home. "I can't believe you're here," he said, pulling back to look into her eyes. "I was worried." "I was worried too," Ilara confessed, feeling the warmth of his presence wrap around her like a blanket. "We need to talk about everything." Jake nodded, his expression shifting to seriousness. "We do. We can't afford to let fear take over." As they joined the group of humans, Ilara introduced the members of her delegation. Jake made the introductions in return, and Ilara noticed the mixture of curiosity and skepticism in the eyes of the humans. She understood their hesitation. Trust was not easily given. "We're here to talk about peace," Ilara began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We want to understand your perspective and find a way to coexist. Our council believes that love can be a bridge between our worlds." Jake stepped forward. "Ilar is right. We need to move past the fear that has clouded our judgment. If we work together, we can avoid the conflict that looms over us." The humans exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement while others appeared doubtful. "But what guarantees do we have?" A woman named Sarah asked. "How do we know this isn't just a ploy?" Ilara felt the tension rise. "You have my word. I would never betray the trust between us. My people and I have come here with open hearts, and we want to prove that our love is genuine." "I believe you," Jake interjected, his voice firm. "But we need to show our people that this can work. Let's arrange a public meeting to discuss our visions for the future." Ilara's heart swelled with gratitude. "That's a great idea. We must create a space where our people can come together and share their thoughts. Transparency is crucial." As they discussed plans for the public meeting, Ilara felt a renewed sense of hope. Together, they could challenge the shadows of distrust and create a brighter future for both worlds. But as they moved forward, Ilara could not shake the feeling that danger still lurked in the corners of their meeting. The shadows of war were not far behind, and they would have to be vigilant. The journey toward peace had begun, but it was only the beginning. Would love be strong enough to conquer the fears that threatened to pull them apart? Only time would tell. Slowly, hands began to rise around the table. Ilara's heart raced as she counted each vote. One by one, they all raised their hands until finally, she saw her father's hand join them. The decision had been made. They would send a delegation to Earth. As the council adjourned, Ilara felt a mix of relief and apprehension. They had taken a step toward dialogue, but she knew that the real challenges lay ahead. She could only hope that Jake would understand the gravity of the moment and join her in the quest for peace. With newfound determination, Ilara resolved to prepare for the journey ahead. A path to harmony had opened, but the shadows of war loomed ever closer, and she would do everything in her power to ensure they did not consume them all. The confrontation. The atmosphere in the meeting hall buzzed with tension as delegates from both the alien and human worlds gathered to discuss their future. Ilara stood at the front, flanked by Jake and her trusted advisors. She could feel the weight of 100 curious eyes upon her, each filled with skepticism and hope. Today would be a pivotal moment, one that could either mend their fractured worlds or push them toward inevitable conflict. Ilara cleared her throat, her heart racing as she prepared to speak. "Thank you all for coming today," she began, her voice steady yet soft. "We are here to discuss the future of our two species. It is time to move beyond fear and mistrust and embrace the possibility of a harmonious existence." Jake stepped forward beside her, his presence a calming force. "We understand the concerns that exist on both sides," he added, scanning the crowd. "But we must learn from each other and explore the strength that lies in our unity." As Ilara spoke, she could see expressions of hope slowly emerging among some of the humans. But just as quickly, doubt clouded their faces, especially among those who were wary of alien intentions. Ilara knew she had to win them over. She needed them to understand that their love and partnership could transcend their differences. A murmur rose from the crowd as a tall man with sharp features stood up. "What guarantees do we have that your kind won't attack us?" he challenged, his voice ringing with suspicion. "You come here, claiming peace, but your people have a history of aggression." Ilara's heart sank for a moment. She felt the pressure of the accusation, but she refused to let it deter her. "I understand your fear," she responded earnestly, "but we are not here to repeat the mistakes of the past. My people want peace, and we believe that starts with trust. If we are to coexist, we must work together." The man scoffed, crossing his arms defiantly. "Words are easy to say. What actions will you take to prove your sincerity?" Jake stepped in, his voice firm yet respectful. "We're willing to share our technologies, our knowledge, and our culture with you. We want to establish programs that promote understanding and cooperation between our species." The crowd stirred, some intrigued by the prospect of collaboration, while others remained skeptical. Ilara could sense that she needed to present a plan that showcased their commitment to peace. Ilara took a deep breath and continued. "Let us establish a joint council consisting of both humans and aliens. This council will be responsible for addressing any concerns that arise and fostering dialogue between our people. Together, we can create a foundation for a better future." A woman with a worried expression raised her hand. "What if someone on either side refuses to cooperate? What then?" Ilara met her gaze, feeling the sincerity in her question. "That is a valid concern. However, it is crucial that we approach every situation with an open mind and a willingness to listen. If misunderstandings arise, we must commit to resolving them through dialogue, not hostility." As Ilara spoke, she could see the gears turning in the minds of the humans. They were beginning to process the idea of a cooperative future. Yet the tension in the room remained palpable, as if the air was thick with unspoken fears. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the hall. The doors burst open, and a group of armed humans stormed in, their faces twisted with anger. "You think we can trust these aliens? They'll destroy us all," one of them shouted, brandishing a weapon. Panic erupted among the delegates. Ilara's heart raced as she instinctively stepped in front of Jake, her body tensed and ready to protect him. "Please, put down your weapons," she urged, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We are here for peace." But the armed humans were not swayed. They shouted accusations, claiming that the aliens were using deceit to infiltrate their world. Fear spread like wildfire, igniting an already tense situation. Jake's voice broke through the clamor. "Stop. This isn't the way to handle this." He stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "We can't let fear drive us apart. We need to talk this through, not resort to violence." Ilara felt a surge of admiration for Jake's bravery. It took immense courage to stand in the face of such hostility. "We want to understand your concerns," she called out, her heart racing as she spoke. "Let's address them together."